quick update on my Axial SCX10.2 based Range Rover build, and this was in fact the first crawler that I'd ever made. In terms of the build, I'd always wanted to get the car looking as scale as possible, and as a result, performance was not going to be a key concern here. In this respect, one of the first changes that I made to the kit after I'd initially built it was to install non-portals onto the axles. Indeed, as I'd shown before, I used to run this on Vanquish portals, and that was before I realized what portals were and didn't understand the fact that the portals just raised this car way too high for the body shell and made it look too unrealistic. When I found that there was extra speed axles that were available, it was a great option. Cost-wise, they were very reasonable, very well built, and they had the added advantage of being able to convert out to a portal system later on if I decided to do so. And that is just by replacing the two end parts with portal conversions, which extra speed also makes, and in fact, which I did purchase just as an added option. So this axle set did provide significant reduction in height that made it more realistic. However, I did want the body shell to still sit as low as possible, and I felt that I could get it a bit lower with some shorter shocks. And as a result, I bought these shocks here. Again, if I remember correctly, these shocks are from Extra Speed, and they have further reduced the truck to the point where now at a point of axles virtually hitting the servo saver and the panhard. We have got a real clearance issue in terms of ability for the axle to move freely up the front. So on this side here, we've got significant clearance, which is fine. But if we come to this side, there's now a bumping not only of the steering servo, but the panhard as well. And the only way to overcome this would be to create a panhard that has a very high arch to clear the pumpkin down here. I suspect that one of the things that I will do is get some of the axial ball joint ends which have a kink in them to allow this to just push ever so slightly higher. And with that done, then the only thing left to do is to replace this front steering link with a link that also bends slightly further out. So this is going to be the project so that it'll help me clear movement this way just a little bit more. It's going to be compromised no matter what happens, but as I've mentioned before, for purposes of looks, I'm willing to take that compromise, but I do want to have a bit more movement on the front left suspension. In addition to the chassis changes that have been made, I've also made a few changes to the body shell itself. The first change relates to a new bull bar, and this bull bar was 3D printed, period correct, has the ability to mount front fogs. I have not wired these up yet. I've also changed the side rear view mirrors to be flexible items here and here, because the old items, given that they were hard plastic, always broke off. These have a certain degree of give that should help them last a bit longer. We've also got a tent mechanism on the top. It's not actually operational. It's just a cover that approximates the look of a mobile tent system on the roof rack. I may be looking in due course to changing the wheels back to original Range Rover wheels, and that can now be done given that I am using the original Axial SCX10.2 4mm output shafts as opposed to the Vanquish shafts that came with the portal. Besides that, there is not really much else that I want to change, and the real number one focus for me is in relation to that front linkage system and removing the obstructions from it to allow me to get some degree of suspension travel back onto the left front driver's wheel. That's the quick update that I have for you. When the changes are finally done to the linkages, and assuming I can get that front clearance sorted, I will be definitely putting another video to update you all on that. In the meantime, please do take care. Thank you.